Hey guys, Aritas here for a new Hunter's Origin video. If you've recently started playing Hunter's Origin, chances are you've been wondering, how the hell am I supposed to get enough gold? Because, let's put it bluntly, gold is the most demanded resource in the game, and Boombit really made sure you feel broke as fuck on every step of the way. You need tons of gold to level up skills, to buy items for NPCs, to craft items, for offline upgrades, for map challenges, to disenchant gear. The gold sink is bottomless. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at how to earn gold, as well as how to spend it efficiently when getting started in Hunter's Origin.
First of all, a quick disclaimer. Remember that the game is currently in beta, and a lot of content is still subject to change. If there are important changes that affect parts of this video, I'll put an update in the description down below, so if you're watching this a long time after it was posted, make sure to check it out. The main way to grind gold is killing bosses and mini-bosses as often as possible. Minis and bosses always have at least one drop, being either gold or an item, up to respectively 4 or 5 drops. Their gold drop is also significantly higher than other monsters, and generally speaking, the higher level the mini or the boss is, the higher level the drops are. Thus, the more money you'll get from selling them. To get them to spawn in the first place, however, you'll need to get to their respective quest, so make sure to do every quest that's available to you. Then, once you've killed them, they will show up in the timers window, which you can access from the full map or the world map menus. Every mini-boss respawns after 2 hours, and bosses after 3 hours. Any mini-boss or boss that doesn't show is either respawned or simply not unlocked yet. You want to make sure you're not missing any of them, and considering some of them are very forgettable, I've compiled the bosses and the quests you need to do to unlock them in this spreadsheet. I'll leave the link in the description box down below so you guys can access it anytime. As you can see, the higher your level, the more bosses and minis get unlocked, the more money you can get per rotation. But it's also good to note that the respawn timer is set per character, not per account. That means using multiple characters can also be a good way to increase your income, since you'll be able to kill more bosses while waiting for the respawn on your main character. Since the max number of characters is 6, you could almost spend your time doing boss rotation, hopping from one character to the other if you wish. You'd probably go mad in the process, but hey, who am I to stop you?
Aside from gear, which you'll sell when it's not useful to you, bosses and minis drop resources extremely often. A lot of these can be used for leveling up town upgrades or crafting, but you can sell them to increase your income instead. You can also find some in chests all over the world, which often come along with potions and sometimes even gold. So make sure you open those whenever you see one. Green and blue chests contain better stuff, by the way. And finally, you can also harvest resources on more than half the available maps. The timer for resources you can harvest in nature is also set per character and matches the respawn timer of bosses, 3 hours. Therefore, it's a good idea to harvest at least rare resources, recognizable to their blue name and background color, while doing your boss rotation or when farming mobs and doing quests. Please note, if you're just getting started and barely got bosses or minis to farm, Beechwood can be found in the Hero Memorial and River Crossing maps, which are immediately available to you. I know, it's not huge, but harvesting the one in Hero Memorial could just give you the little gold you were missing to unlock that skill or that first evolution that you want. With the variety of resources that the game offers, you may be confused what's worth keeping and what is just clogging up your storage. To help you, here's a list of resources and materials you'll find, harvest in nature or drop from bosses, and whether to keep or sell them. Tier 1 can be sold pretty much with your eyes closed. All those materials are frequent drops from bosses and minis. The rare and epic stuff only drop from higher level monsters, of course. But generally speaking, they drop so frequently that you're bound to be swimming in those materials if you hoard them. You can pretty much sell them without a second thought. Tier 2. Most of these materials are fairly easy to obtain, either harvested in areas where you'll spend lots of time, or frequent drops from bosses and minis. You'll use a few for crafting at higher levels, but crafting is not worth the hassle early on because you level up and thus change gear too fast to be spending gold on it. You also need a lot of them for town upgrades. A damn lot. Speaking of those, please forgive me for getting off track, but at this point I feel obligated to call out the scam that they are. If you're thinking about upgrading the bank to make money, let me stop you right there. Just don't.
I've deliberately scammed myself and maxed out the bank upgrade. If you're unsure what it is, it's a feature in town which passively generates gold that you must harvest every few hours. You can find all the info I got in the same spreadsheet form earlier in description. But the bank is pretty fucking bad. In fact, nearly every upgrade is worse than the previous one because the more you level it up, the longer it takes before you can start making money out of it, except the very last level. But at max level, it's basically 200 days before you get back the nearly
400,000 gold you spent.
and start making a profit. To rub it in even further, that calculation only accounts for the gold cost and ignores the humongous amounts of resources I've used to unlock them, which I could have sold instead. When looking at these numbers, it's very obvious that this feature wasn't designed for the players to earn gold, but rather for Boombit to earn money. It's a gold sink disguised as a gold income. Don't fall for their trap. Don't touch this shit with a 10-foot pole. If you really want to, unlock level 1 and grab your money every 3 hours since it matches the respawn timer of bosses and takes the smallest amount of time to start making a profit. For higher levels, you're better off selling the mats and worrying about that later, if Boombug eventually decides to make it worthwhile for us, rather than for them. From this second tier, maybe just keep a few ingots and woods, like 20 of each, and around 50 coal for some late game crafts, or a few daily quests that ask you to craft items. But then again, these quests are going to cost you more money than they bring in, so with all that being said, if you're delusionally optimistic like me, you could start keeping some of them in case, but only once your gold issues get better, which, I promise, does kind of happen eventually. The gold income from the bank got doubled in patch 007, and even though it's far from enough, it's still a step in the right direction. Again, refer to the spreadsheet if you want to see how many of these resources you'll need.
The debatable tier is a mixed batch, but one thing they have in common is that they're not frequent drop from enemies like ingots. Branches are not a resource you'll have heaps of. They're used for the first few town upgrades, both the bank and the offline XP. Not in big amounts though. Reed, thatch, and brushwood, to my knowledge, are only used to upgrade the mount move speed with Arthur the Tamer, but only the first level of that upgrade is really worth the trouble. You can probably sell them, but since they're only common rarity, they're not worth much. Rare ore and clay are very limited. You can get only 6 ore and 20 clay per character. They are tied to a quest and do not respawn naturally. They don't have a use yet, but a dev said on Discord they will see some use in the future. You never know what Boombug might pull out of their magical hat, so that's up to you. Glowing mushrooms are not where your boss rotation will take you. They only grow in Soaked Grotto. Some are required for the daily quests asking you to craft potions, and they also used in the recipes to make stat boosting potions. But since it's a rare resource, it's also worth some money. I would advise to sell if you got over 50 of them once you stop hanging out in Soaked Grotto. Silver ore are also only found in Soaked Grotto at the moment, meaning you won't be swimming in them. They're used in moderate amounts for higher levels of town upgrade, 100 for the bank in total. Less directly useful than glowing mushroom, but just as hard to come by. Basalt is also required in the town upgrades, later than silver ore, but also in much bigger amounts. They are a bit away from the path where your classic boss rotation will take you, and the weirdest part is that it's not sold by the town NPC anymore once you hit level 15. Finally, the fern flower, being a legendary material, is worth 360 gold and its uses are rather limited. Making potion of attack speed and potion of damage is all I've found so far. That being said, you can only get 2 or 3 per day, so I personally keep 30-ish and sell the excess.
Tier 4, the not quite worth selling. All of these are common rarity, so they're not exactly where your money's at. They don't drop from enemies either. You need some of them for your first level of mount upgrade, which is the only one worth the trouble. The rest of these materials are used to craft items for daily quests, such as wooden shingles or certain stat boosting potions. Stones are a bit a part of the rest, in the sense that you need 310 to upgrade offline XP, and 210 for the bank, so 520 stones in total. Even though these upgrades are, I repeat, absolutely not worth your money currently, you could bump them down to the last tier and save them so you don't stay stuck on the low level of town upgrades for days when, or if, they actually become worthwhile. Tier 5, the just don't sell it. First off, the bismuth, never ever sell those. They're the key ingredient of craftable epic items that unlock level 32, and those epic are among the best items you can get for free, surpassing some legendaries. They'll last you for a long time and should be crafted, unless irrelevant for your class. Each of those need 2 bismuth, but only a handful can be obtained for free from quests. Besides that, your best source is the daily ad mega box, but only once you're, I think, level 35. As for bows and planks, you also need a massive amount of them if you ever decide to upgrade the bank or the offline XP. 850 planks for both, and each plank requires 5 bows, so you do the maths. On top of that, there's even some late game gear that requires over 100 bows to craft.
As a recap, here's the full list of resources that you can find following the link in description down below. Finally, let's take a quick look at what's worth your money, at least until you get your first character to the end of the main storyline quest. Skills. Go for it unless you're an agility or divine character. In that case, you could cheapen out from your third class because they're generally weaker than your second class until you can unlock the final skill, which won't happen before level 29. In total, you'll need around 245,000 gold to get that final skill. So, yeah, buckle up. Crafting. Don't bother spending gold or resources to craft common or uncommon gear. Really, once you're getting closer to level 20, you'll get some rare gear crafting options that you can consider investing in, but I'd only do it if it's a big upgrade on your current gear. The real money with crafting options are the epic items that unlock at level 32. Regarding map challenges, there's 2 scenarios. If you want to maximize XP, do the highest difficulty available to you, so your last very hard map if you're a whale or a dolphin, or the highest hard if you're free to play. But if you're trying to save more gold but you still want the nice XP from the challenge, then do the highest map you got but on easy. The drop table for map challenges seems to be the same as the respective boss, and so far, it doesn't look like higher difficulty means better drops. Equipment or resources. Don't buy unless absolutely necessary. Town upgrades. Like we covered earlier, the bank and offline XP are god-awful and not worth the money. Get the first level of the mount upgrade from the tamer. Maybe the very first bank upgrade, since it only takes 125 hours to get your money back. Every other upgrade gets worse. Disenchanting gear. Do not bother with this until you're done with the main quest, because disenchanting and upgrading gear is extremely pricey. If you want to get a head start, you can hoard your rare gear instead of selling them, and I definitely recommend to keep the epic and legendary ones. And finally, inventory slots. In case you weren't aware, you can purchase inventory slots in the in-game shop, but only the first 7 inventory slots can be purchased for gold, and the price increases pretty fast. Please also note that inventory slots you purchase are unlocked exclusively for that character, not your entire account. In my opinion, you can purchase a few once you start getting more bosses and mini-bosses. I'd recommend level 23 or 24 for that, and stop at the 10k gold slot. So you'll be walking around with 33 slots in your bag and avoid returning to town halfway in your rotation. But that's far from being a necessity. Just think of it as an optional upgrade. To sum it up, here's a recap of this section that you can also find in the spreadsheet in the description box down below, same tab as the sales quote-unquote tier list. And that's about it for this video. Remember to check out the spreadsheet in the description for more information. And if you got any questions or if you feel like I missed anything, feel free to shoot a comment or hit me up on Discord. I try to answer as much as I can. Hopefully these tips help those of you struggling with gold in the early stages. If you like this video, please share it and smash that like button and subscribe for more Hunter's Origin content. It's cheaper than disenchanting your gear, and I promise it'll pay off more than the bank. Okay, granted, it's hard to get worse than the bank, but hey. Have fun, take care, and happy hunting. I'll see you all next time. Auritas out.